What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Bubbles BuzzerBeater, your unofficial official BuzzerBeater YouTube channel. Today I wanted to discuss something that I've been digging into a little bit and have been interested in for quite a while now, and that's kind of just how offense has changed throughout BuzzerBeater's history, talking about what offensive tactics work the best, and then also looking at the best teams in BuzzerBeater right now. So like the top ranked teams, what tactics are they running offensively and which ones are working for them? So I'll be kind of doing like a little bit of a BuzzerBeater history session to kind of start this off so you can understand just the progression of offenses in BuzzerBeater. And then at the end, I'll go through a big chart that I made of just looking at the top teams and what they're running. But essentially, the first aspect of BuzzerBeater, there's kind of three different chunks in regards to offenses in BuzzerBeater. The first chunk is going to be Season 1 through Season 25, where these are going to be like the pre-game day prep tactics in BuzzerBeater. So this is when Look Inside was by far the best tactic, and there was no preventing it, no making teams think twice about running it, not a whole lot you can do. So essentially every U21 game, every national team game, every B3 final game was Look Inside versus Look Inside. And, players were all essentially being built the same way too, where it's just like, I'm going to build my players to be the best Look Inside player as possible. And it wasn't the best situation for BuzzerBeater, which is why they actually ended up changing it and adding game day prep and adjusting the game engine later on. But essentially, Look Inside was king for a long, long time. So just to show you this, I wanted to go through the B3 final matches for Season 22 through 26, but just know that even the seasons before this, it was primarily Look Inside versus Look Inside. So you can see Season 22 right here, Look Inside man-to-man versus Look Inside man-to-man. Same thing for the following season. Same thing for the following season. Little bit switched up right there with Monty Stargard, where he played a 2-3 zone and ended up winning, but still Look Inside versus Look Inside. And then this is Season 26 right here. So this is an important finals, B3 finals match to note, because this is the first season that game day prep was introduced. And you can see right here, this is the first time in a long time that a team elected to play something other than Look Inside in the B3 final. So you can see our Spanish manager right there ran low post, guessed inside, and then ended up winning because of game day prep and switching up the tactic, where he played a slow offensive strategy and avoided the fast pace guess. So this is kind of a big turning point in BuzzerBeater, and where offenses started to get a little bit more diverse. So essentially, the Season 22 to 26 overview is you can see that Look Inside was used 9 out of 10 times in those B3 finals. There was 3 total game day prep guesses used, all of them in that Season 26, obviously. And then the only other offense that was used was low post. Moving on to the next chunk in BuzzerBeater's history for offenses is going to be Seasons 26 through 51. And this is where game day prep is already up and going, but the game engine update era hasn't began yet. So it's post game day prep going into effect, but pre-game engine update. And this is where Look Inside is still really heavily leaned on, but game day prep is forcing teams to expand their tactics slightly and think a little bit more about their matches and just prepping for games. Most of the U21 national team games as well as B3 games are still Look Inside, but it's not all of them. So you can see we're progressing in a good manner, and it's not just Look Inside, but it's starting to diversify a little bit. And then managers are also starting to explore some non-traditional player builds, which is really cool. So you can see Season 38 through 42 examples right here. You can see this is a Look Inside versus base offense, where the manager who won the B3 this year elected to play base offense and just avoid the game day prep guesses that he knew were coming. They actually went and were hoping he'd play low post instead, and he switched it up entirely on them. So look inside versus base offense for that season. This is a standard look inside versus look inside, but you do see, managers more conscious about the possibility of facing other tactics with that outside slow guess right there. You can see look inside versus Princeton again, where I Love Tehran ran Princeton, avoided the inside guess, and ended up guessing inside correctly on his opponent and winning. And then once again, a little bit more of a standard look inside versus look inside, but the zone and the game day prep has really helped to just allow managers to think a little bit more outside of the box. So, and then of course, my favorite one, Darkanako's Fulgado Lakers 2, with the reverse patient to win. This was a patient versus low post. So for the overview of this kind of chunk of seasons, which for note is 15 seasons after the first section, and then 15 seasons before the last section. So I kind of broke them down into chunks of like 15 season gaps just so you can see. Look inside was used 6 out of 10 times in B3 finals for this chunk, with 12 total game day prep guesses. And then other offenses that were used: base offense, Princeton, patient, and low post. So you're seeing some outside offenses, some inside, and then some balance. So it's a little bit more diverse. And now going to like the current kind of standing for offenses in BuzzerBeater. So this is the updated game engine era, which is season 52 to currently. And this is where outside tactics are also truly effective in the game. You're seeing a lot more managers make use of it. More U21 and national team games, you're seeing run and gun and Princeton in motion. B3 games, same exact thing, where you're seeing a lot more of an assortment of tactics. And then I think motion is slowly but surely becoming kind of the new fan favorite in BuzzerBeater. So also incredibly unique player builds are starting to be created, and more offenses just in general are being tested out by managers because outside and balanced tactics are working a lot better than they have in the past. So for these tactics here, you can see low post versus motion with a couple game day prep guesses, Princeton versus patient, motion versus Princeton, motion versus look inside, and then motion versus low post right there in the last B3 final. So overview for this, which is the most recent seasons, you can see that look inside was only used one time in the last 5 B3 finals. So only 1 out of 10 tactics were the look inside offense, which used to be what everyone played all of the time. And then the other thing that is interesting too is note that there was only 8 total game day prep guesses for this chunk of seasons, which is actually 4 less than seasons 38 through 42. I think primarily this is because offenses have become so diverse now, where a lot of different offenses work, where people are less likely to use game day prep than they were in like those mid seasons. So you'll actually probably see less game day prep guesses as a whole as the improved game engine continues on, just because it's a lot less predictable to see what people are going to do. So other offenses that were used for this section of seasons: motion 4 times. Like I said, I think that's becoming the fan favorite. Low post twice, Princeton twice, and then patient. So really, really interesting. The next thing I wanted to go into is just the season 57 top 10 teams tactics. So obviously the B3 finals I think is a pretty good prediction and estimate of which tactics are working well and what the best teams are looking at doing. But for 57, so this current season, I wanted to dig in a little bit and look at those top teams and just see what are these teams running, what are they testing out, what's working for them. So this is just looking at the offensive tactics for the top 10 ranked teams in BuzzerBeater right now, so May 30th, 2022. I know these adjust up and down almost daily, it seems like, but these are the top 10 that I'm working with right now. So this will only include league games and B3 games that were won by 15 points or less. So what I'd consider like somewhat competitive wins. I know there's a couple games where it's like, they were up by a lot in the fourth and the other team cut into it in the fourth. I ended up winning by like 13. So there are a couple of those in there, but just know that this is meant to be used as like a good prediction and good theoretical finding, not necessarily like fact. So also I wanted to include the games that they lost, even if they lost by like 18, 20 points, as long as they weren't like blowout losses where you see teams resting players and it's like 120 to 50. I included those games as well. So for the number 1 through number 5 teams in the world right now, these are the tactics that they played in these closer games. So you'll notice that some of these managers and teams will have more games recorded than others. Ramat Billers, apologize if I'm saying that incorrectly, but Ramat Billers, he only has 4 games recorded because he's just destroying everyone that he faces. So you can see just 4 games recorded there, but you can see it's still pretty heavy on look inside. You're seeing some low post in there as well. And then the other tactic that I really wasn't expecting to see as much as I was, but patient. Patient is one of the more popular tactics for these top teams that you are looking at right there. Moving on to the number 6 through number 10 teams. Once again, look inside is pretty heavy. You're seeing some low post, some patient, some motion, so a pretty good assortment over there with just a couple of different tactics involved down there with inside isolation, push the ball, and Princeton. And then overall, this is just kind of what you're looking at for the top 10 teams for season 57 only. These are the tactics that they've played, so you can see the gold, silver, and bronze right there, just in terms of how many competitive games did they actually play that offensive tactic. And then you can also see the record in which, what did these top teams play, and then how effective were they in playing them. Look inside, you can see they played 25 total times with a 20-5 record for an 80% winning percentage. So look inside is still the go-to offense, but look at all the other diverse offenses down below that. So patient was played 18 times, won 61.10% of the time, so still pretty good right there. Low post was actually the worst one in terms of teams playing it and not being as successful, so that was very interesting, but you can see a 5-7 record in those 12 games played by these top 10 ranked teams. And then motion, once again, I think everyone's second favorite option at this point, or at least, for me it is. These top teams lean a little bit more towards patient and low post, but motion, out of the 10 games that were played, these top teams went 7-3 for a 70% winning percentage. And then for inside isolation, push the ball, in Princeton, only 6 total games of those. Inside isolation is 4-0, and then push the ball, Princeton, just 1-0 each. So that's a really small sample size where I don't want to look too much into, hey, 100% winning percentage. I just think the sample size is too small, and honestly, for all of these, it's a little bit small. But I think the other ones, you're at least seeing double digits games played from different teams and just seeing how they work. So once again, meant to be taken with a grain of salt, but these are just some findings that I had, and it's just interesting to see how offenses have changed over the course of BuzzerBeater's history. So that's really all I have for you today. I hope this was an interesting video for you. I want to hear, if you guys are still watching this right now, what is your favorite offensive tactic, or what's a tactic that you're interested in exploring more? Because I know there's certain tactics that I enjoy playing, and then there's a couple tactics that I do want to kind of work towards and train some player towards using. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks everyone for listening, and once again, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, guys. Bye-bye.